What's going on YouTube? So when it comes to family three-row SUVs, the Honda Pilot has long been one of the most recognizable names in the game. But there is also more competition than ever before. And that's why Honda put this 2026 Pilot under the knife for an extensive refresh. They gave this popular midsizer a new design, major tech improvements, and many other upgrades. So, is this the V6 three-row family SUV that you should buy over the competition? Well, let's go ahead and find out. Alright, so let's start things out with a quick spec dump. So under the hood of the 2026 Pilot, you'll continue to find a 3.5 liter naturally aspirated V6 engine. It makes 285 horsepower. Power is routed through a 10-speed automatic transmission, and for 2026, all trims above the Trail Sport now have standard all-wheel drive. Combined fuel economy with all-wheel drive is 21 mpg.
Now the base price this year is $42,000, and if you're looking to buy one or any new vehicle, we would encourage you to go to carconfections.com/newcarquotes to get the best price.
But let's go ahead and close up the hood because there's a lot we need to talk about with the exterior and the inside. So jumping into the exterior design, right up here in the front is going to be the biggest place you'll see Honda spent a lot of attention for this 2026 Pilot. What they did is basically kind of made this look a little bit more masculine, a little bit more butch and squared off. And you can see that up here with our grille. Now it's been kind of enlarged and it's a lot more squared off. Down here in the lower fascia as well, you have a significant adjustment. Now, as far as different variations, this has a gloss black finish at the Touring trim level and above. And then most of the trims will also get this gray finish for the lower fascia, except for the Space Sport and the Black Edition, which will be finished in black. While I'm down here, it would be a great time to mention the ground clearance. You get extra ground clearance with the Trail Sport model, and that model continues to give you real skid plates for extra off-road capability. Now, moving over here to our headlights, we've got an updated design here. These are still reflector LEDs standard across the entire range. You got your daytime running light down here on the bottom, and then your turn signal indicator up there at the top. Furthermore, you have LED fog lamps. Now, of course, no refresh would be complete without some new wheel designs, and indeed, Honda does introduce many new wheel designs for 2026. Another nice thing about the Pilot is that most models, even the base model, come with 20-inch alloys as standard equipment, except for the EXL and the Trail Sport, which have 18s. Now, speaking of the new designs, what you're looking at is the top-end Elite model. This is a new 20-inch alloy with the contrast design and shark gray in the middle. I think they look quite nice overall. I also want to mention that new for 2026, the Touring now has a blackout package, and that one has an exclusive wheel that nothing else in the lineup has. Now, as we move on from that, you'll notice we've got a little bit of matte black around the wheel arches as well as the lower part of the body. That's on all the trims, even the top model. And coming up here to our mirrors, blind spot monitoring is the only standard feature. As you move up, you add heating, then power folding, and then finally at the very top end with the Elite and Black Edition, that's where you get auto dimming.
Now at this side, the Pilot continues to be a large offering for this family three-row segment. It's 200 inches in length. It actually grows by 0.2 inches this year, and we also have some design differences for 2026. So we still have the chrome trim on the bottom of our window surrounds, and then we also have roof rails. Now these are now standard equipment on every single Pilot for 2026. I definitely think that's a nice addition. It looks very basic if you didn't have the roof rails before, so I'm glad they made that standard. You also have new color options for 2026, as you might expect, including a very cool ash green color, smoke blue, and solar silver. Now, as we head around to the rear design of the Pilot, unfortunately, they didn't change a ton when it comes to this overall look. I still think the Pilot looks quite good, even in 2026, so they didn't need to change a lot, but they really didn't do much in comparison to the front. Now, we have a spoiler up here at the top. We have a wiper that's going to be integrated down here in this area, and then Pilot is spelled prominently prominently across the back. You'll notice that we have kind of the gray finish for the Pilot spelling out itself. And then let's take a look at our taillights. So our taillights are going to be partially LED, so your accenting's LED, your brake light is going to be LED as well. However, your turn signal and reverse light are still incandescent. That's a thing that I really wish Honda had updated for 2026 to kind of elevate the overall experience of this product, especially in the Elite form. Now down here at the bottom, I have to say I love this. We have a little bit of gray finish. We also have trapezoidal exhaust outlets, which is something very rare for this segment. Tow capacity comes in at 3,500 pounds for front-wheel drive or 5,000 for all-wheel drive. Now, when it comes to safety, Honda doesn't mess around. You get all of your active safety features as standard equipment, which will include things like adaptive cruise control with a traffic jam assist. However, they have made an addition as well for 2026, and that would be post-collision braking. So that's standard across the entire lineup as well, and I definitely think that's a good move because these are family-oriented products. But guys, there's a ton to talk about on the inside when it comes to increased luxury and tech. But first, if you're new here, we're brothers and we've been reviewing cars since we were 12
and 16. We started young, and since then we've reviewed over 2,000 cars at every price point.
And if you want to know about all the latest and greatest rides, then make sure to subscribe to be a part of our Car Confections family.
Let's learn a lot and have some fun with all the newest cars. Next up, let's check out the cabin and all the upgrades in there. Before we hop inside, we'll take a look at the key fob. It's the typical Honda key fob. It's small and compact. Smart entry is standard, and we also have remote start. Getting inside the vehicle itself, just reach behind the handle. That will unlock the door and fold the mirrors outward. And then we'll take a peek inside. Just like with the exterior, there's going to be some more subtle updates, but there's also some more obvious updates. And let's start by talking about these seats, because that's where a lot of these interior upgrades are focused. What they've done is kind of changed out some different things. So the Sport model will continue to be the only trim with cloth seats. When you move to the EXL, that's where you get a leather seat. And then as we move up, we're going to see full leather. Now the big differences come into some available color options. So now for the first time, you can choose a brown interior option for the Trail Sport trim. You can also choose a brown interior option for the Touring trim. I really like that they expanded that because brown is a really nice color. It kind of helps elevate the overall experience. Now the other big thing that's different, you'll see demonstrated here on the Elite, and it's also on the Black Edition. Honda has substituted out up here at the top the leather and added this quilted suede design. I think this looks quite nice. We also have the color contrast piping, and of course this is available in the full spectrum of colors. When you get the white exterior, you can get black, gray, or brown for your interior color choices. The seats themselves are 10-way power adjusting with 2-way lumbar support, and every trim above the EXL gets memory seats as well. And we'll go ahead and climb inside. Now getting in and closing up the door, little animation there on the gauge cluster, and you know what time it is. It's time to talk about the rest of the cabin materials. Again, we see some more changes here. Our first look was on the Trail Sport trim, but now we're here with the Elite. This is our top level of luxury we get in the Pilot lineup, and we'll see that Honda elevated things this year. We've got our leatherette across here with a stitch detail. This section here, though, is now in a suede to kind of match with the seats. The center section here is leatherette as well, but they've added a triple stitch that runs through there. We also have a new faux wood trim, so this kind of has that grain design. It also has little scales almost drawn over top of it. I do appreciate that they're trying to elevate that a little bit more over the other trims. Soft touch plastic up there and soft touch plastic on the upper dashboard. Again, the center section has been updated with leatherette and suede and the stitching details. And then the center section here now has more of that material and less of the piano black and other types of trim. Only thing I gotta say, this really should be padded for the price point, but overall, it does still give a little bit more of a high quality feel than something like the Grand Highlander. Now we'll fire it up with the push button start. And now let's move into individual details. We'll start as always with the gauge cluster. Newly standard for 2026 is this 10.3-inch digital gauge cluster. Previously, only the top trim levels got this, so now it's been expanded across the entire lineup. I appreciate that. You can do things like put Google Maps inside of the display. Also, if you choose the Elite or Black Edition, that's where you get the head-up display. Moving back to the steering wheel, we got that typical Honda design. It's nicely leather wrapped. It's heated on Trail Sport, Elite, and Black Edition, and then the Elite also adds in the rain sensing wipers. It's manual tilt and telescoping across the lineup. There are some of the competition that offers a power adjustment though. And now let's move to the interior storage. Opening this up, well, it's really big. That's typical for Honda. They're really good at maximizing interior storage, and we'll be able to fit a lot of donuts in there, I think, when we take this back home to Kentucky and do an official donut test. In front of that, you have a couple cup holders and then a big old storage cubby right here. This side is a wireless phone charging pad, which I'm utilizing right now, and then a little bit of storage right there. Finally, we have a large cubby as a passenger storage shelf. There's no pass-through space, but there's plenty in the door trims. The shifter continues to be a small and compact push-button style. Press there for drive. You can press again to shift manually with the paddle shifters. Pull the trigger for reverse. When we go into reverse, here's our 360-degree camera system. There has been an improvement this year for this, and that's the fact that it's now included as standard on the Trail Sport trim level and above. Just press the P there for park. Behind the shifter, you have your drive mode controller and also your electronic parking brake with brake hold. Next up, we have the climate controls. A lot of you guys who prefer a simple setup will be happy to see they have not changed this. So we've got all physical controls for the 3-zone automatic setup, making it very simple to just adjust the temperature up and down, and then you get your rear settings below that. Inside the same housing, we have our 3-zone heated seats. That is standard on all models, and then ventilated seats are on the Black Edition and the Elite. Right here, we've got a volume knob, and if you get the Touring trim and above, you get a Bose sound system, which has 12 speakers. Let's give it a sample. Overall sound quality in this system is pretty good. It fills up the cabin nicely. There's a lot of competition in the segment, so it's not the best you can get, but I'd say it's roughly as good as in the Grand Highlander or the Hyundai Palisade. Okay, let's zero in up here because we talked a lot about some technology enhancements, and really the big place is going to be this. So as a lot of you guys remember, when this product launched, it actually launched at the same time as the Honda Accord, but the Honda Accord got a 12.3-inch display, and the Pilot instead got the 9-inch display. We've been waiting for them to change this. They are finally changing this year, and you can see we have this now 12.3-inch display, 37% larger than before, and it's standard across all the models. Also standard across all the models is the fact that we have Google built in. So what that means is you have things like Google Maps, Google Play Store, and Google Assistant across the entire lineup. This is free for 3 years with no subscription. And of course, you can still also use Android Auto and Apple CarPlay if you prefer to use those systems wirelessly. Up top here, we've got an auto-dimming mirror with HomeLink universal remotes. And then we have a large panoramic sunroof with a power sunshade. This is included as a standard feature on the Trail Sport and above. And of course, the front panel opens up as well.
But this is a family 3-row, so we've got to talk about the rear seats, the third row, and the cargo area. Now, I'll go ahead and start by talking about here in the second row what space figures you're going to find. It's going to be 40.8 inches of legroom, 40.2 inches of headroom. Those are very good space figures. It's actually better than the Toyota Grand Highlander, for instance. However, it is slightly less than the new Hyundai Palisade, but overall, the numbers are really quite good here in the second row. You're going to be pleasantly surprised. Now, I brought along the official Car Confections ruler, even though we're traveling here, and this seat's adjusted to Drew, who's 5'8", I'm 5'9", and looking at that, we're sitting at around 7.5 inches of additional knee room. That is pretty good for this segment of vehicle, and that's to give you a realistic knee room figure. Also, my feet can easily slide up underneath of these seats. Now, speaking of these seats, they do have the ability to slide forward and back a very good distance. They also have the ability to recline to really maximize your comfort. Now, you may actually notice the fact that we have bench seating, so that's in itself is kind of rare for a fully loaded trim level to have bench seating, and that gives you, of course, the maximum seating capacity of 8 passengers here in the Pilot. However, it does have a trick up its sleeve, so you can either fold it down like this, and that's going to kind of give you a little bit more of an executive style rear seat with 2 cup holders inside and, you know, a little storage cubby, or you can actually fully remove this middle seat. So that's a feature I really love about the Pilot. It's very unique for the segment, the fact that you can just remove the seat on demand depending on how many people you need riding along. I think that is very nice because a lot of the top trim rivals will just kind of lock you into the 7-passenger seating. Just be aware that Trail Sport is going to be captain's chairs exclusive. And then as far as in the center, we have quite a few features. We have rear vents. We have our own zone of climate down below. Heated back seats are standard on Elite, Trail Sport, and Black Edition model. It's actually new to the Trail Sport for 2026 to have the heated back seats, so that's definitely a nice new standard feature as well. Two USB ports and a household style outlet. I like all the seat pockets that you have here in the Pilot, and let's take a look at the door trim. If you get an EXL and above, you'll have the rear window sunshade. And I like the fact that we have upgraded materials on the rear door. So you have more of that faux wood going through there. You have the stitching detail here in the rear as well. And then you have just a ton of storage. As you can see, you have 2 cup holders right there, a little storage pocket, and another storage pocket in the bottom. So it is very practical when it comes to space. And let me go ahead and show you the third row in this Pilot. In order to get back here, they've made this super simple. You just press this button right here, and that's going to electronically slide the seat out of the way. Just be aware, though, that the seat back does move a little bit, so that does mean that you might have to remove a child seat depending on your situation. Now let's go ahead and hop back into the third row itself. And the third row of the Pilot has always kind of been a strong suit for this model. We're sitting at about 32.5 inches of legroom and a pretty good headroom figure as well. I think it's about 37 inches of headroom. There are 3 seats across here in the back, and I also really like the detail that they've gone to even include the quilting here in the third row. That's something that, a lot of brands will kind of cheap out on. As far as other features, we have 2 cup holders, 1 on each side. We also have vents here on the side itself, as well as a USB port. So quite a few features, a nice armrest as well. The only thing I will say that's not fantastic here in the third row is the thigh support. The thigh support definitely could have been improved a little bit, raised this seat a little bit more off the ground. The Grand Highlander, I do believe, has a better third row, but as far as legroom and headroom figures, this is very much on par with the very best in the segment. As far as how it rates on our third row rating scale, I'm going to say that this is fit for the in-laws or adults. Walking up to the tailgate, you have a standard power one. You also have the kickability as well. And let's talk about overall cargo space. So this is a large option for the segment, and that does mean that in terms of cargo capacity, you have some pretty good numbers back here. We're sitting at about 18 cubic feet of space behind the third row of seats. And if we fold those seats down, 48 cubic feet, and as a maximum, 87 cubic feet of space. Now, for those of you familiar with the segment, you may know that that actually is very similar, almost ties the Hyundai Palisade for cargo capacity. However, the Grand Highlander is still about 10 cubic feet bigger, so keep that in mind. Speaking of all those rivals, we would encourage you to go to carconfections.com/vehicle rankings. The reason why is because we've looked at all the options in this segment, and we've ranked them in the 10 most important categories of this type of buyer. Things like third row, cargo space, interior technology, luxury features, powertrain choices, and even value. So you can see the best options for each of those categories so you can make a really good informed buying decision. So do yourself a favor and check out our website, carconfections.com/vehicle rankings. Now, back to the Pilot, behind the third row, 18 cubic feet of space, and unfortunately, they still have not added the power folding third row. That's something that, of course, some of the rivals do have. It's still just a manual folding setup. However, as you can see, that's very easy to fold itself. There are not any handles to fold the second row, though, so I will have to go up and do it manually. And now that I've got those seats folded down, as you can see, they are completely flat with the floor. Let's get our cargo length, width, and height figures. This is a Car Confections review after all. Overall cargo length, 85 inches is what you can expect. From behind the second row with the seat slid all the way back, about 49 inches of length. From behind the third row, 18 inches of length. Let's get our width. It's 46 inches wide as an opening. And as far as height, 31 inches tall. So all those figures are going to be pretty good. Let's get our load-in height as well. That's a little bit on the higher side at 33 inches tall, so keep that in mind. If we lift up the cargo floor, you'll be super pleasantly surprised by this. Look at how much space you have underneath of the floor. That is absolutely fantastic, perfect for something like fast food. You also have a spare tire, which is kind of something that has become increasingly rare in modern vehicles. And if you could choose the Trail Sport, it's going to be a full-size spare tire in addition.
All right, so let's get into some more details about the powertrain. So like I mentioned at the beginning, this is a 3.5 liter naturally aspirated V6 engine. It's carryover from the previous model year, making 285 horsepower and 262 pound-feet of torque. In terms of how that compares to the competition, it is right in line with other offerings that have a V6, as well as many of the turbo 4-cylinders out there. That, of course, is one of the key differences compared to a lot of the competition, is the fact that they're keeping the V6 and not moving to a turbo 4-cylinder engine, but they're also not adding a hybrid powertrain this year either. Now, other things to keep in mind is that we have a 10-speed automatic transmission, and all-wheel drive is standard for 2026 on the Trail Sport trim level and above. So all of those will now come standard with all-wheel drive. Since there's no hybrid powertrain, fuel economy is not going to increase this year. We're looking at 22 mpg with front-wheel drive, 21 mpg combined with all-wheel drive, and then the Trail Sport's a little bit lower still at 20 mpg combined. Now, there's also some additional changes Honda says they made for 2026. One of those things is increased sound deadening, and also they said they retuned the steering this year. And those are two things we look forward to testing out very soon. So we are under a driving impressions embargo for a few more days. We wanted to go ahead and show you guys all of the features on this Elite, all the updates as early as possible. So we are going to have to wait a little bit longer to share those driving impressions, but you'll want to come back to the channel so you can see things like our signature sound level reading and see if it is actually quieter for 2026.
All right, so let's talk about pricing with the Pilot. So on the base end for 2026, prices do rise around $2,000. So that is noteworthy. However, on the upper end, prices don't rise a ton. So on this Elite model, it's only about $500 more than what it was before. So that is a pretty nice detail because this is one of the more affordable options in the segment. This is the 2026 Pilot all-wheel drive Elite. As you can see, $53,495 is our base price. After destination of $1,495, we're sitting at $54,990. Which certainly is a more attractive price point than a fully loaded Grand Highlander, and really even some of the other rivals like a fully loaded Hyundai Palisade. Now, if you're curious as to where this is manufactured, it is manufactured in Lincoln, Alabama. And if you're looking to buy one or any new vehicle, we would encourage you to go to carconfections.com/newcarquotes. The reason you should do that is because we have a tool on our website that'll connect you with local car dealers in your area to get you the best price. It's also going to give you access to invoice pricing information, which is a great tool to use while dealership negotiating. If you'd like to take advantage of that, as well as things like our monthly payment tool, you can find a link to that down below in our video description, as well as a pinned comment. And guys, that's going to wrap up our in-depth look at the refreshed 2026 Honda Pilot in its fully loaded Elite trim level. If you enjoyed watching this video or found it helpful in your purchasing decisions, which we hope you did, we'd really appreciate you hitting that subscribe button down below. By subscribing, you're going to be a part of our Car Confections family. We have a lot of fun on this channel, and I promise you won't want to miss out. And if you're already a part of our family, thank you so much for your continued support. You make this all possible. We'll catch you next time as we sample more of the latest automotive delicacies.